Hi, I'm Ritu.
And I'm Sarah.
And together we are
Everyday Intellectuals.
Today we will be discussing Weather by Jenny Offill. Now, this book has been described as pointless and plotless, or in our words, pointless.
Jokes and personal feelings aside, this is one of the most highly reviewed books of 2020, which is why we chose it. We'll give a list of the main characters and then go into a summary, which honestly we could probably summarize this book in like one sentence, but we'll try to give more detail than that.
The protagonist of the story is Lizzie, who's a 45-year-old university librarian. She lives in New York City and works for Sylvia, a climate change activist.
Basically, a boomer Greta Thunberg.
Lizzie's family consists of her young son, Eli, and her husband, Ben, who has a classics degree but codes games for a living.
Another family member is Henry, Lizzie's brother and an on-again, off-again addict. Catherine is Henry's girlfriend, turned fiance, turned baby mama, turned wife, turned ex-wife.
Basically, their relationship status is complicated.
Yeah. Lastly, Will is a wartime journalist that Lizzie has an emotional affair with near the end of the novel. When people describe the book as being near pointless, they're talking about how the author introduces Lizzie through fragmented clips of her daily life. We see her working at the university library, dropping her son off at school, playing with her dog, attending a meditation class. When you zoom out, all these little points of reference paint a picture of who Lizzie is as a person. To put it more simply, we get to know the character through her daily routine.
Lizzie's routine is interrupted when she gets a job offer from her former mentor. Sylvia, a climate change activist, hosts a podcast called Hell and High Water and travels the country attending seminars. She asks Lizzie to accompany her on her trips and answer fan emails. But basically, Sylvia's trying to offload the responsibility of answering emails from her crazy and depressed fans.
On the home front, Lizzie's brother Henry is a recovering addict. At the beginning of the book, he has recently met a woman named Catherine, and by the end of part 1, she's officially his girlfriend and the couple moves in together.
The author draws a parallel between Lizzie's personal anxiety and the anxiety of climate change scientists. The reason Offill draws this parallel is to explore two scopes at the same time, the global and the personal. She does this to emphasize the difficulties of balancing our day-to-day responsibilities and our responsibilities to the planet.
Unfortunately, Offill does not appear to believe that people balance these responsibilities well. As a result, we see Sylvia become increasingly disheartened as she loses hope that people are willing to fight climate change. Similarly, Lizzie struggles to balance her climate activism job and her personal life. As she spends more time working with Sylvia, her family resents her absence.
At the same time, constantly reading and responding to emails leaves Lizzie anxious and depressed as she's consumed by ideas of doom.
On the other hand, Henry gets engaged, knocks up Catherine, gets hitched, and becomes a father to a baby girl named Iris. The third part is dominated by the 2016 presidential election. The shift in the political climate only serves to increase Lizzie's apocalyptic mindset. She starts having nightmares and becomes paranoid of the people around her.
Meanwhile, Henry is not coping well as a father. He struggles in daily tasks and heavily relies on Lizzie as he attempts to hide his neuroses from Catherine.
Yeah, and while we commend Lizzie for being a caring sister, there's no doubt in our minds that the relationship is more codependent than healthy.
In my opinion, he only drags Lizzie further down in her own emotional despair.
I agree. Post-election, Sylvia loses all hope and runs off into the middle of the Arizonian desert and is basically MIA.
Honestly, why would you run to Arizona? Newsflash, Arizona is still in the United States. If you wanted to run away, just go to Canada, like the rest of us, once Trump was elected. Hell, I still want to.
And if you are gonna run off, could you at least let Lizzie know? Because she's still answering doomer emails. She's losing her mind.
Yeah, she's a mess. Speaking of a mess, Henry's anxiety has become debilitating, and Lizzie is convinced that he stopped attending NA meetings. To absolutely no one's surprise, Henry relapses and cheats on Catherine.
Throughout most of this part, Lizzie is determined to save Henry, a task that she's given to herself because, again, they are codependent. She finally convinces him to seek help, but in her definition, that means sibling therapy with her meditation teacher, Margot.
Yeah, the jury's still out on whether Margot's a licensed therapist. I'm gonna go with she's not.
Probably not, because despite all of this, Henry is still served with a divorce and ends up crashing on Lizzie's couch, which is great for her marriage. Eventually, Ben gets fed up and takes Eli with him on a 3-week glamping trip to California, with or without Lizzie.
Instead of joining her husband and son, Lizzie decides to stay home to watch over Henry and frequents the local bar. On the bus, she meets a hot guy named Will, and he soon becomes her drinking partner. And given the state of her marriage, may not be the greatest idea. But although she enjoys the carefreeness of an early romance, she does miss the comfort of her husband, who knows and accepts all of her emotional baggage. And despite all of this, she still continues to go on an emotional affair with Will.
Yeah, they spend most of their time bonding over doomsday preparation, which is kind of cute, I guess, but honestly, we're really glad that Will leaves New York because we cannot condone an affair of any kind, even if there was no sex. Lizzie muddles through her breakup with Will. Her email responses become increasingly bleak and sardonic, and she worries about Eli's future on a planet ravaged by climate change.
Towards the end of the book, everyone seems more calm. Ben and Eli are back in town, and Ben has figured out that Lizzie's cheated on him, but isn't mad somehow?
Honestly, that part was super unclear.
Yeah, the whole book was unclear. Sylvia is soothed by the desert and continues to water her plants, despite the fact that she thinks that the world is ending.
Henry is 6 months sober now and miraculously manages to retain some custody of Iris. Lizzie is more hopeful but still paranoid, and ultimately she comes to the conclusion that she can't completely neglect her present for the sake of worrying about her future. Okay, Ritu, final thoughts on Weather. What do you think?
I didn't like it. I did not like it. Okay, let's go with her style.
Yeah.
Pointillist style, critics raving about it, thousands of tiny dots, forms a picture, got it, cool. The problem with Offill's fragmented style is she never connects the dots. Yeah. What's the final picture?
Yeah, she has all the puzzle pieces, so we kind of know what the picture's supposed to be, but because she doesn't connect any of the dots herself, all of that responsibility is assumed on the reader. And I personally didn't care for that.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. Also, I thought genuinely she had a good idea.
Yeah.
The parallel between, juggling the everyday responsibilities with the global responsibilities of the planet, really cool in theory. However, she doesn't talk about the global responsibilities of the planet. Is Lizzie an environmentalist? Does she recycle?
Is Sylvia a lobbyist? What are they actually doing to save the planet aside from just freaking out that it's dying?
Yeah, nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, Lizzie goes as far as to hate on people who like all natural products, which I feel is a little contradictory.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense to me to why she would go out of her ways to point that out. Also, the whole book is predominantly about her toxic relationship with her brother. I mean, so where's the balance coming from?
Yeah.
Where's the balance of, global warming and climate change with her day-to-day responsibilities?
Yeah, I think a book that's, marketed as being about climate change doesn't really talk that much about climate change. And I especially don't really understand how that justifies printing 135 pages per copy of this book to talk about saving the planet when the book is it's just not really about that as much as I was hoping and expecting.
There were no solutions, let's be honest. There's no solutions.
None.
So to recap, we do not recommend this book.
No.
But we do hope you like this video and comment your thoughts below.
And if you completely disagree with us and love Weather, please let us know your arguments. We'd love to have you change our mind, if you can.
I doubt it. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.